How about this, huh? Remember?
That's not in the book either.
So, do any of you guys remember when THQ Nordic announced in 2018 that they were partnering with Nick to revive a bunch of classic games based on their shows? And then they proceeded to remaster Battle for Bikini Bottom, give SpongeBob 2 more games, and pretend like this list never existed, which already gave people like myself hope that their favorite Nick games could eventually make a comeback. My personal picks being Jimmy Neutron Attack of the Twonkies or Fairly OddParents Shadow Showdown. And I would hope that with Jimmy Neutron getting a new movie and a new Wish currently pending a Season 2 renewal,
They better give us a Season 2!
that they'd get something sorted out for these particular IP as cross-promotion. But the moment this list started naming shows that never got dedicated video games to themselves, like Invader Zim or My Life as a Teenage Robot, it did raise some eyebrows, as the only console or handheld games of those characters ever appeared in were the NickToons Unite series of games. And even then, they didn't start appearing until the third game, Attack of the Toybots, despite being initially planned to appear as early as Battle for Volcano Island, the second game in the series, with Jimmy Neutron possibly having more of a direct presence than he did in the final game. And after Globs of Doom in 2008, which the Nicktoons name was starting to become deprioritized in favor of SpongeBob's name at the time. Not really a shocker, given shows were getting cancelled that weren't pulling in SpongeBob numbers. But this game officially spelled the end of the series, and I'm not counting Nicktoons MLB. That was a weird game to let the Nicktoons series jump off a cliff with. So this THQ Nordic list was basically our only hope of it ever making a comeback. That obviously never happened. However, a new name came along to fill that void in 2023, with PlayStation, Nick All-Star Brawl 2 from Game Mill Entertainment, introducing a story mode into the series with every character having their own interactions and reactions to the same story, depending on who you choose and what characters you come across. All in the name of defeating Vlad Plasmius from Danny Phantom and saving the Nicktoons universe. Sure, it's not called a Nicktoons game, but dang it, you have all these characters in the same game, so it might as well be. Now, I actually received a review code for this game back in the day, major thanks to Game Mill for the opportunity, so if you want to check out my review of it, though it doesn't cover my thoughts on the post-launch DLC, so maybe I'll get around to re-reviewing it someday, but until then, you can find the original video in the top right corner. While you're at it, be sure to subscribe for more Nicktoons content, as we do have another SpongeBob game dropping later in the year that I will be talking more about. Anyway, what did anything that I just said have anything to do with the reason you clicked on this video in the first place? Simple. During the Summer Game Fest livestream, after the firestorm regarding Sonic Racing Crossworlds price set the internet ablaze, and I can't blame them, amidst these flames came onto stage Carolyn Lawrence, aka the voice of Sandy Cheeks in SpongeBob and Cindy Vortex in Jimmy Neutron, announcing a brand new Nicktoons game, Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny. Why did this title remind me of the latest Indiana Jones movie?
That's not a good sign.
Now, because the brains of all us Sonic fans were still freshly jolted from the recent SpongeBob leaks for Crossworlds just days before, that is an actual sentence in 2025. Go figure. And since they didn't show any of the SpongeBob DLC for Crossworlds at the show, instead we got the Sega IP and Minecraft, and no, I'm not putting the meme in the video. But we just assumed that we wouldn't be seeing anything else until Kids' Choice Awards, which was sponsored by Crossworlds, so it made sense. So her walking on stage immediately made me think Crossworlds, even though I completely blanked on the fact that the leaks confirmed it was just SpongeBob and Patrick coming to the game. Even this year's THQ Nordic SpongeBob game did not come to mind. But nope, I don't think any of us were expecting the Nicktoons name to ever be spoken, cause like I said, that series has been dead for so dang long, that I started looking around the room just to make sure I wasn't imagining what I heard. I clearly was not. The trailer opens up with a book with some familiar looking wands, and the one, the only,
To summon the most ferocious, most awesome, most totally radical team of adventurers the land had ever seen!
Timmy Turner. That's right, the Fairly Odd Parents are making their grand return to the world of console and handheld video games after almost 2 decades, with their last appearance being in 2007's Attack of the Toybots and being cut from Globs of Doom in 2008, despite the show still getting new episodes up until 2017. Now, for the longest time, it's been speculated that the show hasn't returned to video games, even after Game Mill kickstarted fresh crossover titles in 2018, is because of the show's distribution rights for certain seasons, but in a previous video I did point out that other shows, like Danny Phantom and Teenage Robot, have the same distribution partner. But that ain't stopped them from appearing in any of the same games. And now this piece of info, I'm being told, is not accurate. Well then, where were you guys years ago? Although Chalkzone is still missing in action, and they better get Snap in one of these games someday. Now maybe something happened after a new wish that caused Nick to finally get some things sorted out so this reunion can finally happen? Who knows, I just run a YouTube channel, so what do I know? Anyway, Timmy's building up this epic tale, only for SpongeBob to cut in with his iconic laughter, transitioning to our first look at gameplay. Now, when I first saw this, firstly, I did not expect a NickToons game in this 2D top-downish style. And second, I was very much reminded of those old Flash games I used to play on the Nick website. Anyone remember Invasion of the Lava King? That was my jam, and the closest thing I had to Zelda at the time. But this is obviously higher budget than any of those games were, just by looking at it. I'm not upset about it, which is the opposite of what I've seen from the reactions to this reveal, and I don't think I've seen anyone's excitement for a game build up so fast, only for it to immediately crumble as soon as gameplay's shown.
No shot!
Totally radical team of adventurers
Play it through,
the
chat.
land had
Is that Timmy Turner?
That's Timmy Turner. That's Timmy Turner.
A few moments later.
Wait, don't tell me it looks like that. Oh, okay, never mind. Never mind, I gotta sit down. I take back what I said.
What is it?
What? Oh.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Did your enjoyment just die in a hole?
But she said a new NickToons game. I thought it was going to be a 3D platform. I didn't think it was going to be League of Legends.
I was really excited.
I'm more in than ever.
Yeah, we're so bad.
A Nicktoons Diablo? What are we talking about?
Thank you. Glad I found someone else who can appreciate this. But Greg does make a good point. The game does have an isometric perspective to it, and actually reminds me of LEGO Horizon Adventures, which I really enjoyed. Sadly, I haven't touched it after beating it, but it's still a fun time with a second player. Speaking of which, that's actually one of the main draws of the game. It is a single-player adventure, but it can go up to 4-player co-op. Much like the original Nicktoons Unite, before the series started shifting to only 2 players in its sequels. Something the developers understood was the main draw of that first game, and other games like it. Some good, some bad. I don't want to remember the bad ones that single-handedly sunk an entire series. Now yes, I know this is turning into the classic everything we know so far video, which I said in a community post a while back that I wanted to move away from such content, cause I was shifting my focus onto more evergreen content. But come on, it's a brand new Nicktoons game, how can I not do one for it? Especially since none of the usual Nicktubers are even talking about this, hello? Where's the squad at? So, in traditional everything we know so far fashion, let's start with the game's release date, platforms, and pre-orders. The Dice of Destiny pre-orders are currently live except for the Switch eShop. The game costs $50 at launch across all platforms, those being the PS5, Xbox Series X and S, PC, and Nintendo Switch 1, which I'm going to assume it's going to be backwards compatible with the Switch 2. And yes, the game is not coming to the PS4, even though it looks like it could run on the darn thing. In addition to the standard editions, there will be a digital deluxe edition and a collector's edition, the latter only being available on PS5 and Switch. Pre-orders for the collector's edition open soon, and it'll cost $80 US and features a copy of the game, Wardrobe of Wonder DLC code, costing $15 separately, and gives every character a brand new costume. A wooden dice tray with storage compartment, custom dice set with travel pouch, 9 collectible hero trading cards, a sticker sheet, and a double-sided game poster featuring the game map and extended box art. I'll come back to the extended box art so I can go over the digital deluxe edition. It'll cost $60 US, you only get the game and the DLC costumes in this edition. We also have a release date of September 30th, just 5 days after Sonic Racing Cross Worlds, or 8 days if you count the early access period. I tell ya, my wallet's definitely going to be hurting if I don't get a review code for this, so I really hope I'm approved for it. That's even before we know the release date of this year's THQ Nordic SpongeBob game, in which I better shut up about before I say something I'm not supposed to, though I hope to get a review code for that one as well, please, I beg of you! Now just who are the developers on this NickToons game, you might ask? Well, according to the game's website, Fairplay Labs and Petite Fabric are the ones handling the project. Now, Fairplay is the Costa Rican studio we're all familiar with for working on Nick All-Star Brawl 1 as co-developer to Ludosity. And to my surprise, while making this video, they actually led development on Nick All-Star Brawl 2. While Ludosity, according to Thaddeus Cruz, one of the lead people at the studio during the game's development, told me via DM, Ludosity took on more of an advisory role in the second game. Some people from Ludosity were still directly working on the project, such as myself, but it wasn't the majority. Ultimately, we fulfilled a role similar to what Fairplay Labs filled with the first game, though for some reason, GameMill really wanted to credit only a single developer where they could, so stuff like the Steam page only credits Fairplay Labs. Again, I personally reviewed this game on the channel, and even I didn't know this! Despite beating the campaign mode multiple times, and the Fairplay logo is the first thing you see in the credits every time. Anyway, it's good that Fairplay is returning for this game, cause they've definitely proved themselves on Brawl 2. So this raises any hopes I had about this game, even if it means we won't be seeing Nick Brawl free for a while, especially after the whole Unity fiasco. Now the other developer, Petite Fabric, from what I could find, they're a Brazilian game development studio who've developed games like Cuckoo, Lost Pets, which did gain some positive reception, and Trolls Rescue Remix for GameMill, which didn't exactly garner the same level of positivity. They also did the trailer and cinematics for Looney Tunes A Wacky World of Sports, which was led by Bamtang Games, the folks behind Nick Kart Racers Free, a game featured on the website's production reel but not mentioned anywhere else on the site. I also reviewed this game and did the NKR-free Teenage Robot Easter Eggs video on the Teenage Robot Fanbase channel if you're interested. Just wanted to throw that out there. So it's unknown if Petite's leading development or if they're just being brought in as a support studio while Fairplay leads. Anyway, if we go over to the game's official website, there's a good bit of info regarding the game. We have the main description for the game, usually something that'd go on the back of a box. Get ready for a vibrant, universe-spanning mashup that brings iconic Nicktoons heroes into a world of fantasy-style tropes and real-time RPG action. Roll the dice and dive into a wild, action-packed adventure with SpongeBob and more Nicktoons characters. Then we see the box art, which they've been updating with every new character reveal that's been happening on a near-weekly basis. But I'll get to the roster near the end of the video, cause I guarantee a few more characters are going to get revealed by the time I even finish this video. But I do want to focus on the image on the left because this location is none other than Bikini Bottomshire from Dunces and Dragons, the medieval SpongeBob special that was later referenced in Cosmic Shake, with the knight armor SpongeBob's wearing being pulled from that episode. And it looks like this might not be the only location pulled from a medieval-themed episode, as the website goes on to say, explore Whimsical Worlds, from Bikini Bottomshire and beyond. Journey through colorful NickToons-inspired fantasy lands with fun, reimagined twists, each filled with puzzles, secrets, side quests, and wonderful surprises. So it looks like this world will be decently sized for exploration purposes, with each area being possibly inspired from each show. As someone who explored nearly every inch of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, this game's speaking to me. In the Timmy Turner trailer, we can see a bit of Fairy World, which makes sense, cause it did have that medievalish look to it with castles and whatnot. Now, in an alternate version of the left image, we can clearly see this is Danny Phantom. And guess what? Danny Phantom had an entire medieval-themed episode in Season 2's Beauty Marked, as well as touching upon it in episodes like Fright Night and Rainstorm. So, I'd expect to see some of those Ghost Zone locations, like Peria's Keep, which did appear in Nick All-Star Brawl 2, as well as some familiar faces from those episodes, like the Fright Night, Ghost Archer, Ghost Executioner, I botched that badly, the Dragon Ghosts, though there's already a dragon, just not the same ones? But why does it have Danny Phantom's hair? Heck, maybe the Ghost Rider makes a return and traps everyone in this medieval story for whatever reason. I know it's not gonna happen, but bringing this guy back would be a wild card move, given he's not as popular or known as the other villains in the show. Wait a minute, he was voiced by who? Anyway, I'd expect to see some of them appear in boss form, as the website refers to them as iconic enemies with intense boss battles, each offering unique mechanics and surprises, leading up to an unforgettably climactic final encounter. Now we can rule out Planktonomor's Jelly Dragon being a boss, cause it's been relegated to smaller, normal-sized enemies. But since we're on the topic, there are going to be enemies obviously inspired from each show, and some that are probably made exclusively for this game, but I wouldn't know cause I ain't watched every single Nicktoon to ever exist. I know, pretty shocking. Aside from the entirely new fish and fairy enemies that are meant to be from SpongeBob and Fairly OddParents respectfully, although the fact that these aren't anti-fairies is a bit jarring, especially since they're enemies, and the last time they were in a video game was back in 2006. Aside from those, the three that stand out to me are the Krang from TMNT, the Clusterbots from My Life as a Teenage Robot, popping up in the very first trailer long before any official reveal for Jenny herself. And finally, the larger Final Form Twonkies from Jimmy Neutron Attack of the Twonkies that also returned in Nazby 2's campaign recently. This right here is the first time we're officially seeing this guy in 2D form. So, I didn't even register this guy as a Twonky until somebody told me. Regardless, I really appreciate the love the special and the game keep on getting. Also, these guys are apparently called Mongros. I never knew this, as I only played the PS2 version all my life, and that right there is the problem, cause the PS2 manual makes no mention of this, as it simply stops at Grumps with no mention of anything bigger, aka the bosses, while the GBA version, never played it, does include this detail in the manual. We learn something new every day, class. At least, I hope you did, cause there's a pop quiz coming your way. In regards to the combat, it looks fast and fluid, which is my type of combat, but apparently there will be a bit of strategy to it, so keep on speaking to me. There'll be an upgrade system of sorts, obviously, so weapons will be much more powerful than what you start with. As for whether or not they unlock new powers via skill trees, or if those will be unlocked through story progression, I don't know, but it's probably the latter. How these upgrades are attained, either purchasable with common currency collectibles, or some that are harder to find, we don't know yet cause we're yet to see collectibles. But I would assume it's largely based on the character class you're using. Yes, in true RPG fashion, there are character classes, and this gets us into the playable members of a roster that have been confirmed. Every character has been reimagined into these classes, from Spellcaster to Wizard to Barbarian, Knight, and more. SpongeBob falls under the Knight class, I assume due to possessing armor for absorbing more damage than other characters I had to. Either that or he's just focused on more short-range attacks. Sandy falls under the Barbarian class. Okay, not gonna lie, this is a cute outfit despite the classification, who also references Smithy from a One Crab's Trash. Not gonna lie, I kinda expected a medieval Sandy from Dunces and Dragons, but I like it. Her skill set focuses more on strength-based combat. Leonardo from TMNT falls under the Samurai class. Sure, that sounds like it originated from medieval times. Oh wait, they were around at the same time. Well, color me surprised. You'd better have those notebooks out. Timmy Turner falls under the Wizard class, and yes, Cosmo and Wanda aren't the only ones with a wand this time. Now Poof, who we now know as Perry in A New Wish, isn't anywhere to be seen, so if it's like the other NickToons games, it's certainly canon and takes place before Season 6 of the show, where he officially came into the picture. Susie Carmichael from Rugrats is an enchantress. Listen, I'm not a Rugrats guy. I personally never got into it, so I honestly have nothing to say, aside from the appreciation that LEGO's made a cameo as an attack. That's honestly perfect. And finally, as of recording this, Katara from The Last Airbender falls under the Spellcaster Healer class. I know nothing of this series outside of that live-action movie from many years ago, and I went no farther than that. Well done. You not only failed to bring in newcomers like me, but successfully ticked off an entire fan base, and it's weird that it's happened twice, so I have 2 nickels that doesn't even seem to buy a candy bar anymore, so I hope you're happy. As for other characters, we already know Danny Phantom is coming to the game, we just don't know his class yet. While Azula and Plankton were revealed in a brand new trailer on the day I was originally going to post this video, pretty much everyone assumed that because him and Azula are bosses, and they're also on the box art, that the bosses would be playable, which is something that was heavily requested in NASB 2, to the point there were mods to do just that. Well, the game's official Twitter account deconfirmed playable bosses, and kinda confirmed my theory that the left and right sides of this art were simply reserved for the back of a box, showing the heroes facing off with the villains. However, considering the Twonkies are back, that should mean Jimmy Neutron isn't far behind, and seeing the original Nicktoons Unite squad reunited would make me so gosh darn happy. So by that logic, Jenny should also be here, but if she's not, then the Clusterbots being here just doesn't feel right. Why put these guys here if the main characters aren't going to be returning? It would be like including the Woodies from Tak, but not having Tak anywhere at all. Look at NASB 2's campaign for a second. The developers only included enemies that originated from the shows on the playable roster, nothing from outside of it. So unless they pull a NASB 2 where the main box art doesn't show every character that's playable, and the main menu version does, we're sadly not getting any more than 9 characters. Not to mention, there also doesn't appear to be plans for DLC at the moment. That alone is kinda strange, considering every Nick crossover game from GameMail has had post-launch DLC since Nick Brawl 1. But regardless of however many characters we get in the final roster, there's one last thing I want to point out from the website, and it's this particular bullet point. Built for Nick fans and action RPG lovers. Whether you're a lifelong Nicktoons fan or a fantasy RPG adventurer, Nicktoons and the Dice of Destiny blends charm, fast-paced fun, and adventure together for one unforgettable quest. This right here is what's important, cause Nick Brawl 2 was such a love letter to the Nicktoons we all grew up with. From the moveset references to the music, the costumes, fodder enemies, character designs, and worlds translating perfectly to 3D, the biggest thing for me was seeing the characters from their own shows interacting with each other for the first time in what feels like forever. Whether it was Jenny and Nora, Manny, Frida, Sartana de la Muertes, Jimmy and Hugh, Danny, Ember, Clockwork, and Vlad, even making deep cuts to Ember's unused backstory despite Clockwork and Vlad never interacting with her in the show before. Something I've wanted to make a dedicated video about for a couple of years now, but never got around to it. and even characters from outside the same show have some interactions with each other as well, though it's kinda just restricted to Clockwork Vlad and the campaign bosses, with like a one additional line with Nora, and that's it. But still, it added to the adventure. More importantly, it feels like a fresh one for shows that ain't had one in a while, and I feel like that's what they're going for here, cause there's gonna be 2D animated cutscenes throughout the game. These were being teased at the start of every character spotlight, before a proper reveal of the intro in the latest trailer. This is adorable, and I love it. The sheer level of interaction here is not even what I expected from this game, and haven't seen since at least Volcano Island and Toybots. I would say Globs of Doom, but I cannot in good conscience say that with how horrendously plastic everyone looks. But even the character movesets are also faithful to each character with the appropriate references. SpongeBob wielding Ol' Reliable from the Pink Purloiner episode and Goofy Goober mode from SpongeBob Movie 1 being what looks like an invincible special move. Sandy going into hibernation mode from Survival of the Idiots. And Timmy Turner features Cosmo and Wanda turning into items that Timmy can use. A common trait in every piece of Fairly OddParents media that I'm glad is still here. Though please let there be a hologram reference, because that was pretty much the only way Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda can be seen together, both in previous NickToons games and the Jimmy Timmy Power Hours, which by the way are canon to each other because of this reference. And also Jimmy acting like this wasn't their first time meeting at the end of that first game. I'm just saying. Now, I can't speak for the other revealed characters, but this is the level of attention I've come to expect from these games, and I'm glad they're sticking to that despite being a completely different type of game. What matters is that these guys are clearly NickToons fans, and they're good at making games. Just look at Purple Lamp and SpongeBob, you cannot ask for a better combo. I'm also happy to see Nick Games actually getting good reception again, between THQ Nordic's SpongeBob efforts, the Game Mill titles, despite the latter's titles starting out a bit rocky, to majorly improving in 5 years' time, and now Outright Games joining the fray with the Patrick Star game, which people seem to enjoy. I still haven't played it yet, but I do plan on getting it physically since it's $20 cheaper than the digital versions at any given time. But nevertheless, the NickToons games hold a special place in my heart, and I'm excited for this one. And besides, I've rambled on for long enough, so I want to hear what you guys think about the game so far. Are you excited? You gonna pick it up day one, or are you gonna wait to see how the reviews go? So be sure to leave everything down in the comments section below. Also be sure to subscribe and hit that bell for more NickToons content. And once again, I've been Blue Knight. Thank you so much for watching and for the constant support. I really appreciate it, and until next time.
Stay beautiful.